What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jordan Plaza, back with Plaza's World. Ready to get into another video, man. But before I do, please like and subscribe down below. It helps the algorithms. That is the best way that they calculate it, man. Please. Today we're getting into Modern Woman Gets Destroyed on Pay Gap Myth.
I want to hear because I honestly don't know a lot about the gender pay gap either. I just learned a lot from them, so I'd love to hear this side.
Yeah, I think in 2022, any girl that complain, I'm not talking about race because that's the first thing people always bring in. I'm talking about female to male. I think in 2022, if you're complaining about the pay gap as a woman, you're probably just lazy. I have never.
Agreed. First of all, let me say I watched Pearl's video. She is a beast, man. Red pill, baby. She knows what she's talking about. She's got statistics for it all. It's crazy.
Never had a problem getting the same pay as a guy. One issue is that women don't ask for raises. So 60% of women have never asked for a raise and they quit before they ask for a raise. Yep. So how can we be afraid, or how can we be mad that we don't get paid as much if we don't ask for more money? Second thing I would say is that, you know, we work less hours. So they do studies where they see how many hours a girl works, and we actually get paid more when you account for hours worked and the industries we choose. We'll talk about equal pay when it comes, or equal, you know, they want us to be in like the 1% and all that stuff, but they never talk about the positions like plumbers, bricklaying.
Right. They always talk about CEOs, high paying jobs. They want to be in with the president and all this other shit, but they don't want to be equal all the way down to the bottom. Cement layers, fucking plumbers, bricklayers. They don't want to do electrician jobs. They don't want to do trucking jobs. They don't want to do, you know, fast food restaurants. Well, a lot of them do fast food restaurants, but you know what I mean. You get the gist of it, baby.
Any of the hard jobs women don't want to do, so we get paid less because we don't like to do hard jobs or ask for raises.
I feel like also women are like obviously mothers, so, and I feel like who gets called when something's wrong with the kids or something needs to be done at the house, the woman usually goes and takes care of that.
Yeah, and men do too at the same time, but nowadays modern women don't want to do that.
So the, like you said,
what's wrong with the house?
No, I'm saying like the men, you know, if they do get, they, like she said, men put in more hours.
What you said, if something's wrong with the house, who gets called?
No, you know what I mean? Like usually your husband or your man is the provider. So you wouldn't be like, oh, hey babe, can you leave your providing job to go to the house and meet with the guys who are checking the roof? Usually he would send his wife to do that. It's, you know, it's just kind of that type of thing.
Yeah. You know, or he would just have him come at a time when he'd be there, because what would your wife know about that unless she knows the specifics of it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're both engaging in it together. So if you're both, like, say me and my fiance were getting a roof on our house, we would both be talking about it, but she wouldn't know what they were doing, if it was the right way or the wrong way. They were trying to rip her off or not. Not because she's dumb or anything like that. She's a very smart and intellectual woman, but she just has no, how do you say it? She has no information on those type of fields. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I could see that, yeah.
Can I jump on what she said, actually? Because she brings up a really good point. Women actually are not asking for raises because we've been conditioned to not.
You haven't been conditioned to do shit. It's just your fucking choice.
Rock the boat. We've always been told, you know what? Stay quiet. Don't really make any noise.
You've been told that. Say, okay, look, when you're told something, it's on you to either decide to do it or decide to not to. You know what I'm saying? So whether you're told to, you're making it seem like we're like, you can't do this. You're not allowed to do that. Nobody's doing that. You're just not choosing to. There's a big difference. You got to word your sentences carefully, because that right there is just not how you do it.
You know, like maybe eventually you'll get a promotion if you're well behaved, you keep your mouth shut and always do what you're told.
I've never been in any field of work where that was the case. Most of the time, that's the men that it happens to.
That's why.
It sounds like an excuse to me. I've always been able to go ask for a raise if I wanted a raise, so I have no sympathy.
And that's great.
I have no sympathy, and I'm not going to blame society if you're too scared to ask for a raise. Grow a pair, ask for a raise.
And I agree with you 100%. I think that should be the attitude for women. We should all be.
Why are you saying that you were conditioned, or you were told to? We've been made to believe this lie.
Taught to think like a man, to be thinking like, okay, because that men have always been told, you know what, you deserve that, you should ask for that.
But it's not society, it's gender differences. We're more agreeable. So
correct.
I agree. But that's not society, that's innate.
Right.
Because what they do is they take women from countries that are more free and less free,
Mhm.
and the pay gap increases with the more freedom we have.
Are we talking about corporate jobs? I just want to clarify
All
real quick
jobs.
because most of the jobs before I was self-employed,
Mm-hmm.
I did like hospitality, like serving jobs. And obviously, as a woman in a serving job, I make way more money than the boy servers or
Yeah, and
men
that's the other
servers.
thing,
So
they
I
don't-
can't really like debate at the same time because I'm
Mhm.
like, now I make my own prices, but before I was making more money than the men in my job because I worked hospitality and stuff like that. So
yeah, in certain
it's-
industries, women definitely dominate, even in like barber versus hair salon.
I mean, this whole pay gap thing. First of all, it's 100% not relevant in these times because it is against the law. Let me say it again. It is against the law to pay a woman the lesser than the man if they're doing the same exact job. Not if that man is your manager or not if that woman is your manager. You both say you're both fry cooks, right? You're a fry cook. She's a fry cook. You both get paid the same. If one gets paid more based on their gender, there's a lawsuit that can be had, millions of dollars,
Like
Mhm.
women,
and every company knows that.
hairdressers make more money.
I think a good way to kind of encourage women to ask for raises is like for society. When a woman's asking for a raise,
learn your worth.
Mhm.
when a
Right.
woman's asking for a raise, don't be like, oh, she's being aggressive. Because men are praised for doing that. Oh,
Yeah, but you're asking men to talk like women. Why can't, if you're coming into a man's field, be like a man? And if we're going into women's field, we have to be like women. That's just the way it is. You don't come into another field that is predominantly dominated by men or women thinking that, oh, I'm going to change the rules. That's not how it works.
good for you, man, for asking
Yeah.
for that raise, for doing that. Then let's praise women for the same thing as well.
We get praised
Um,
all the time. Again, like
We're making
if you-
generalizations.
If you
now.
ask for a
I could
raise,
use some praise.
if you get asked for a raise, like honestly, nobody's gonna call you aggressive. Like that's just
Not at
Well,
all.
you don't
bullshit
know that.
excuses. No,
No, it depends.
excuses.
You don't know that.
Too.
I do
Where's
want
the
to
fact?
That's 100% excuse.
say my mom's coworker, she asked for a raise about a few times, like more than a few, and she actually got honored her raise like about I think like 3-4 times, but she's still asking for a raise over and over. Like, so they did call her aggressive, but also
That's because most women aren't like that. So generally, they're going to feel like that's more aggressive. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing. That's a good thing in the man's world.
she did get a raise 3 times,
But
and she
then-
doesn't deserve a raise, but she was called aggressive for
They might call
asking.
the men aggressive too, but the men say, "Okay, screw you, I'll go get
And
another
they don't
job."
ever talk about it again.
What?
We don't hear from the men when they get called aggressive. Like you said, they'll go find another job.
Yeah,
Because
like
they're
they're
not
not gonna
emotionally
sit there
based.
whining. They just say, "Okay, screw this, I'll go to another company and get my pay."
I want to give my experience on. I actually made more than a man in a sales job that I was at. I was making 17 an hour compared to my guy counterpart. He was making 15, and the only reason why I was making $2 extra an hour was because I spoke Spanish. So I had to do on the phone. I had to speak both English and Spanish on this job.
That's because you get paid more when you're bilingual, regardless if you're a man or a woman. If that guy would have been bilingual the same as you were, you would have both been paid the same. He wouldn't have got more than you.
Well,
Doesn't make sense.
I was told very clearly to never say how much I was getting paid at this job. I was told to keep my mouth shut, don't say anything, and they specifically told me the starting rate for this job is 15 an hour. So I would appreciate and I would hope that you honor code, that you don't talk about it. Okay. Months went by, I didn't say a word, and it wasn't until I slipped up. I was in taking a break, and this guy had been there maybe a year longer than me, and he was still only making 15. And I said, "Oh yeah, no, it's 17 an hour. That's really good compared to what." And it just slipped out, right? Human error.
Why are always the stories based on, don't say anything or, definitely don't tell nobody? That's not how it is. Unless you're working under the table or at some fucking shitty, job, then I could see that, but that's not even
And
realistic.
I kid you not, about 2 months later, I got fired.
It's a conflict of interest as well, because it's just kind of like, yeah, you're bilingual, but
They probably did that just to see if you're trustworthy, to see if they can handle you with millions of dollars. Because if you can't even withhold how much you're making to coworkers, how the hell are you going to be able to be trusted with the the bank numbers and routing numbers of all the $1 million customers that come into the job say. You know what I mean? That happens to men too. It's the same exact thing. It doesn't mean that you got fired because of that. You probably got fired from something else and just put that together. Like, it just always sounds like there's always a different motive than what they're saying.
Then it starts, he's going to the boss's office like, why is she doing A, B, and C?
And
making
he
A, B, and
did.
C?
And he did, and he actually made a scene about it that I actually walked away because I felt so uncomfortable. He made me cry in front of the whole sales floor. And he was saying, like, how dare you have, because you're already showing off with your Spanish skills. So why is it that you have to actually make more than me because I wasn't gifted, I wasn't blessed to speak to
This place sounds like it's not even, it's just in her head. Like, it's that delusional shit again. This is nuts.
languages. Why is it that I have to make less than you? And I was like, because I'm actually doing double the work. Don't you, like, why are you shaming me for my value,
Why didn't you stand up for yourself?
B, my experience? And I cried in front of everyone because he did that so
And that's why you got fired.
publicly. And again, I tell you, 2 months later, they found a way for me to be let go. And that, to me, I've always carried that because I was actually very proud that I was like, wow, I'm actually making more than my male counterparts. This is really exciting. Like, hey guys, maybe the pay gap isn't real. That's what I was thinking. And then that happened to me. And I was like, wow, what a coincidence.
But I think that's more like you disobeyed what they said. And I know it was on accident, but like they told you not to. Like, it's just like they told you that there would be a consequence if you did that, or they said not to, and then
And
you
I
did
accept
it.
that. I accept that 100% that was definitely my fault. However, I think that there should be, so that we have equality of the workplace, why can't we have open transparency of payments if we're all doing the same
'Cause
job,
I
right?
hire people.
Regardless, people get, even if you say you're bilingual and they're not, if you're doing the same job but you're making that extra dollar more, they're gonna feel some type of way just because they can't speak Spanish. And I mean, that has nothing. That's not a bad, you know, that's not a bad judgment on you. That's just them feeling self-entitled. So of course they're gonna try to drag you down and make you feel bad about it. You can't feel bad about it. It's work, not personal. You're there to work. You're not there to be friends. You're there to build your business or scale so you can build a business and do better in life, not be friends with people. That doesn't make any sense.
People, I'd rather not do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Like I said, I feel like that's a conflict of interest. And then, like, what happened, they were trying to avoid that scene. Like, everybody knew, obviously, you deserved the $2. You had your credit from your bosses. Like, you didn't need credit from your coworker. Well, that's probably, I feel like that's how, as, like, that's how they would
But I
see it.
think the problem is people start to get entitled because they feel like exactly what happened in that situation. So if I'm hiring 5 people and I know this guy's the most productive, right? And I know he deserves more money, or she, whoever it is. And let's say I pay them $75,000 a year and I pay someone else 50. When they find out about the gap, the other person might feel like they're just as qualified and they might feel like they do just as much
But they're
work. But I'm
not.
I'm the boss. I see who actually does the most work. And that's why you can't have pay transparency, because you have people that feel like they're worth more than they are.
And I think on that note, though, wouldn't it be nice for everyone to know going into the job, okay, this person right here actually is making a little more because they have an extra skill that I don't have. Why don't I go out and learn that extra skill so that I can be price matched
Exactly. That I agree with. I can agree
with
with.
what that other person is?
That sounds nice. And I think if I was like when I was on the other side, I might have agreed, but like people just start to get entitled. And even if they're a whole hell of a lot less productive, like it's night and day, it's like people just have this ego. And it's like you can't.
And I agree.
Even with that guy.
You can't talk to them about it, because as soon as you do, it's like, oh, you're not agreeing with me. Like, just because you don't agree with somebody doesn't mean that you're against them. Okay, you're allowed to have your opinions.
Like everyone else probably could have said she deserves more money.
She's bilingual.
She's better. But even when they have that, like that's not even just a guy thing. Like that's just a human thing.
I think also it was the shock. I think and this is just me putting myself in his shoes for right now. I think it was more the shock of him learning that I was making, and he was there longer than me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying I think it would be more fair for everyone on the floor and everyone in the job to know how much each person is making.
So if that happened, you probably wouldn't have got the 17 to start.
No.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, because like I'm thinking of it from the employer's point of view. Like if I have this one guy, maybe he's like a mid employee, right? So like he's making 15 an hour, and I bring in this new girl, and I'm like, oh, she's so much more productive. She's gonna make my life so much easier. She deserves the 17. No matter what, he's still gonna feel some type of way because he's been there longer.
Sure.
Let
Right.
me ask you a question. Do you believe that men and women's pay should be equal?
I absolutely do.
So why did you say
Oh
you
my
were happy
God.
when you were making more than your male counterpart?
Ooh, emotional damage.
Okay.
Do you get
that's
that from the comments?
I did, and that was a good point, and I'm asking you now.
Interesting.
I agree. Okay. And here's the thing. I agree that everyone should be making the same amount. However, like I mentioned, I was actually doing double the work. I was actually having to speak in the Spanish language and the English language. And not only that, in my particular sales in the Spanish division, I had to actually explain what it was that I was selling. So not only was I selling, I was also having to describe what it was that I was selling. Whereas in the English department, everyone knows what a home security system is in the United States. But in other Latin countries, a home security system is literally the dogs of the house. And so to have to explain this, so like literally I had to spend an hour on each phone call. So it was really exhausting work just to like talk about that. So yes, to answer your questions, I believe that everyone should be making the same amount. And here's another example. They ended up hiring another dude, and he was also making 17 an hour. So we were both doing the same job. He was making 17, I was making 17, and he was speaking Spanish.
Then you got fired for a different reason. That doesn't make any sense. If that such scenario happened that you just spoke of, it wasn't because you made more that you got fired. It was because you broke confidentiality. 100%.
Well, no, here I'm gonna get to you in just a second, bro, so we can keep doing the same thing. But let me read some questions, and everybody get the likes up. Let's get 100% engagement, please. We got more people than we've ever had watching. This is a bomb ass show. Thank you all for
Man, we're
coming.
gonna
Please
end
share.
that there, baby. This is Plaza's World signing out. I got a couple more videos coming for you, ladies and gentlemen. But please help with the algorithm, man. Like and subscribe down below. And to my new subscribers, thank you very much. It was very nice to see that data going up, baby. Keep them coming. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys soon.